What am I doing this all for, man? Honestly, I'm doing it for my legacy. I'm doing it for my ego as well. I hear a lot of people talking about being ashamed or thinking having an ego is like a bad thing or something. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, why is it a bad thing? What? Because you're working towards something that is going to be monumental, that's going to be worth celebrating? Think about any person that you've celebrated. Think about any person that is influential in this world, warlords, sportsmen, anything like that you've looked up to some capacity. They've all had an ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. You too should develop one. You're not too old for it. In fact, as you get older, your ego should only be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because, well, you're getting better. Because you've had the effect of time to compound. If you're not getting better, then that doesn't make sense. You've got to start working towards shit. You've got to start building systems in place. So, well, your wife was literally going to stay with you. So your children that you're going to bear in the future, they actually have someone to look up to. Well, you want them to fucking play with Action Man and look at all these other sporting heroes as their gods. You should have your son wearing your name at the back of his shirt, not someone else's. And God forbid your wife doing the same thing. That shit scares the shit out of me, man. That's the reason why I work so hard. That's the reason why I get up every day and I'm working, I'm making videos, I'm coaching people, I'm helping them do this, I'm helping them do that. Almost putting them more ahead of myself. Because the way the world's going, man, it's only getting fucking harder. It's only getting harder. Shit's more expensive. Government's trying to get us going against us. And then what? I mean, everything I'm doing is set my fucking foundations up for my future. I look at my grandparents and what they did, migrating to another country, not speaking another language. I was not speaking the language in which the country they were migrating to, in their early 20s, barely knowing anyone, if not anybody here. And what, I'm too scared to fucking put up a post or reach out to this guy or say what I want to say. This is nothing. My life is easy compared to theirs. Way easier. I don't have to go through no fucking wars. And I still sit here and sometimes complain. But I need to pull myself together sometimes and just be grateful of the opportunity that I've had. You know what? I remember when I was young, I grew up with a pretty easy life. I'm not going to lie. Like, my parents did well. They put a roof over my head. I always had food, an abundance of it. I went to great schools, and I remember growing up and I used to wish that it was the opposite. I used to fucking wish it was the opposite. You know why? Because I didn't have that drive in me that I wanted. I didn't have that fucking, like, I used to think and watch like boxers that came from poverty or athletes that came from like the favelas in like South America. I used to see that shit and I used to think, man, they've got such a fucking cool story to write because they've come from nothing and they've made it. And the fact that they've cut nothing, I looked at that like that was honorable. I was almost embarrassed that my parents were doing okay. I was like, I wouldn't say the rich kid, but in some circles I was hanging out, yeah, I was. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Maybe it was because I wasn't fitting in, I don't know. But I felt like the story that I was going to write would be way cooler if I came from nothing and then made it to something. And I never really found or had that drive. And that's not something I could harness. You can't just harness, you can't just fake that shit. There's people that just have a burning flame within them based on their environment, based on their nationality, whatever it might be. But that's not something that you can force. You either have it or you don't. And I see it time and time again with a lot of my clients, especially my athletes, my junior ones that I coach. Ones that come from maybe they're migrants to the country, they've always got more of a fire up their ass to do the work compared to the other ones. And now as I'm a 34-year-old man, I've got that fire in my belly. I don't need to fake it because I'm more aware of the world and the way the world's going and what I need to do to set myself up so I don't have to make choices or decisions that other people have to based on their life situation. I'm going to have kids one day. Am I going to send them to the same schools I went to? Fuck no. I went to 3 high schools. I don't even know which one I'd pick. And I wouldn't even pick any of them. Because if I couldn't tolerate teachers and my kids are going to be anything like me, then they're for damn sure not going to be fucking tolerating them. So everything I'm doing is setting up for them. I want to homeschool them. That's going to cost an arm and a leg. But that's what's given me that burning desire to get up, train, be the best version of myself, make money. Not to have flashy shit, but to be able to provide them options in life. Even though they're gonna be, or I'm in a more privileged situation. It's a crazy concept. Because if I speak to my parents or even 2 generations back, my grandparents, they think that I've got everything. That we're in the lucky country. And to some extent, they're right. But I don't look at it that way. I really don't look at it that way. And the life that they grew up in, the world that they grew up in, is completely fucking different. The way they handle things. Back then there was trust. Now there's none of that bullshit. That's why we have the things that are happening right now. That's why I eat carnivorously. That's why I eat like a decentralized way. It's like me opening up my mind and understanding the truth. I eat meat. I don't need to eat anything else. Humans have been doing that for millions of years. And now what? Because we've been farming for the last 1,000 years that we need to eat breads and wheats and grains and bullshit that's been making us sick, where all these sicknesses have only been coming in recently. How does that even make sense? Bitcoin, another thing. It's truth. It's honor. You can't fuck with it. That's real money. It's energy. That's why I love that shit so much. I'm not going to dive too deep into that now, but because once I start, it's all over. But when I gravitate to these things, I start to associate myself with meat, Bitcoin, and other themes and topics of life that cross-correlate with those sorts of things. Orthodoxy, religion, it's all about originality. And I think the biggest thing that we struggle with as human beings is that we are so distant from how we should be operating. Our frequency is off. Even right now, I'm under LED fucking lights. That's cooking my circadian rhythm. We don't actually understand how bad that is for us because we've programmed to believe that this is normal, that we are lucky, that we're under a roof. But we're actually not. And the further I dive down deep into this shit, the more everything makes sense. And throughout all the people that I've coached, it's crazy because the common denominator with all of them, not even just people I've coached, people in general, we are so detached from who we are as human beings. This is why the carnivore diet makes sense, because it brings us back to our roots. Who we are, original. That's why my training philosophy is also like that. Bare feet, sprinting, running, biomechanics, harnessing movements in which we've been doing since the dawn of human time. Not this fucking conventional gym shit that keeps us stiff. How did the Spartans do it? They were jacked. They were muscly. They were doing all that sort of stuff. Throwing stuff, fighting. When you actually study animals, it's crazy. You study animals. Because I've been eating animals for like 8, 9 years now. Strictly. And what I've learned a lot is that we should be taking a big leaf out of their book. You know why? You ever go out and you see an animal in the wild and it's fucking sick, unhealthy and fat? No. Ever. Ever. You never do that shit. Why? Because they are in tune with who the fuck they are. They eat food that they're supposed to eat. You will never ever see an animal in the wild eating something it shouldn't. Unless a fucking human fed it that shit. But a cheetah will always hunt the food a cheetah needs to hunt. Always, and it'll eat that shit. And it moves the way it should move. And it's out in the elements, it's grounded, it's in the sun, it's in its own environment. Compare that to you. Compare that to me. The modern man fails at that miserably. Offices, gyms, condensing our workouts to a 1 hour period. How fucking stupid is that? Imagine a cheetah just laid around all day and then it just moves for 1 hour. It'd be fucking bizarre, wouldn't it? So when you do all that, your body starts to form like that because it's going to take the shape in which it's mostly doing. That's why people have fucking sore backs. They sit down all day and then they go do a workout and oh, done my back. Or their posture's shit house. Or name the other example of them having an injury. So by studying the animals and emulating your life more so like them, you too start to become more free. Eating species appropriate food. Well, what do you think fucking happens? I'll tell you. When you eat only meat, or eggs, or anything that we are supposed to actually eat, your body does this magical thing. It sounds super bizarre. But it starts to learn when to stop eating naturally. It starts to understand when you are actually hungry. And there's no confusion of whether you're hungry, you're full, or you're just addicted to the damn food because it's processed with fucking chemicals and it's made by food engineers that are literally hired so you cannot stop eating it. I literally had some chocolate the other night. My missus gave me a piece. She's like, have a bite. I had a bite and I shit you not, I was fiending for another one. Fiending. I was like, I need to have another one. Like it was out of control. Same thing. Another night, I'm having my fucking steak. And she's having pasta next to me. I wrecked my steak. I had the whole thing. And there's no way in hell that I would be able to eat more steak. She had a pasta next to me. And I was looking at that and I was like, I could easily eat that. Easily. Yet I couldn't eat any more steak. Now people will go about their life and think, oh, that's normal. No, it's fucking not. It's not. That's why most of you motherfuckers are fat. That's why most of you people need to track your fucking food. Think about how stupid that is. Do you see monkeys tracking the amount of bananas they eat? No, they just fucking eat that shit and they move on. Because their brain isn't fogged with delusion of not knowing what's right or wrong. We are. We can't help ourselves. That's because we are detached from who we actually are. Now, when you bridge that gap and you start bringing yourself closer to who you actually are, you start operating from a different frequency. You'll start not getting along with a lot of people too. Tell you right now, a lot of people will think you're fucking nuts. I go to fucking events and bring my own fucking food, my own steak. I was at my mate's house the other day. They were making pastas, pizzas, the works. I got the fuck up. I drove to the souvlaki store and I bought a fucking container of lamb meat and I ate in front of all of them. Because I didn't want to involve myself in that type of behavior. And nothing against them by any means. But I've got the standards in which I uphold. And that's something that now is part of who I am. And I don't break that. Don't. And when I do, it's very, very selective. Very, very selective. But I always retrace back. I'll never change my standards and go back to that old ways, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. It's the same goes with Bitcoin. Never in my life have I ever come across someone who is truly educated, has done their homework in Bitcoin, studied it, understood, forget Bitcoin actually, understood what money is. Because once you understand money, you really gravitate towards Bitcoin. Like it's impossible not to. It's literally impossible not to, because Bitcoin is the money. It's the most purest form of money. You cannot, you cannot fucking argue that. But most people don't actually understand money. That's why most people will look at buying stocks or other crypto companies. And they ignore Bitcoin because they don't actually understand the intrinsic value behind it. Is stored energy. I get my money through my business. I store my energy into Bitcoin. No one can fluctuate how many Bitcoins are out there in circulation. If I get my money and I store it in other assets that can be fluctuated, I'll never really truly know what their intrinsic value is. You can always build more houses. They can always make more shares. They can always mine more gold. They can definitely print more fucking money. But you cannot create more than 21 million Bitcoin. Ever. It is the fucking only asset in the world that is hard. And for the first time in our lives, we have the opportunity to store our time and our energy into it. That will be around for thousands of fucking years. It's endless. Literally in a blockchain. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now, I'm not saying go buy Bitcoin. Do what the fuck you want to do. But if you are looking at buying Bitcoin, study money first. Find out what is money. Understand what the principles of money are. Once you understand what the principles of money are, you will see that Bitcoin literally ticks them all off. And if you can't see and gravitate towards Bitcoin after you've understood what money is, then you haven't understood what money truly is. And this is the same with me. Understanding what food is, what are its principles, why are we consuming it? The world needs a big wake-up call, a huge wake-up call. And some people are going to be left behind, some others won't. But I know for damn sure that at least within my circle of the people that I'm coaching, my friends, my family, I'm doing everything in my power. And if you're watching this, please follow along for the journey. To open people's minds up. And I'm still on my own journey too, yeah. I don't know everything. Not even close. But there's definitely been a significant growth that I've gone through over the last 6 to 7 years. And it's all kind of stemmed from me becoming a coach, me becoming a godfather, me starting the carnivore diet, my initial investments in Bitcoin, COVID-19, and now it's led me to the path that I'm on right now. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not hating on the world by any means. I'm not coming here saying like, all this and that. I'm very grateful. Very, very, very grateful for a lot of things. But yeah, there's whole people that hate on the world. I think that the system isn't, don't get me wrong, the system isn't perfect, but I still enjoy the system. And I think within this world, in order for you to navigate yourself in the system, you've got two options. You either learn to play by the system's rules, or you go live under a bridge and you pay no tax, nothing. That's it.